Welcome back to Devcon. Good morning, everyone. My name is Skylar, and I have the incredible honor of leading the amazing Devcon team. Once again, welcome to Devcon Southeast Asia. It's been 2 years since we last met for Devcon in Bogota, in Latin America. 2 years of building, of strengthening, of advancing. And it feels great to be back reunited with you all. We are here this week to celebrate all that we, the Ethereum community, have accomplished over the last 2 years and beyond, which is quite frankly a lot. And we are here to make progress through in-person collaboration and learning to continue to improve Ethereum and to use Ethereum to improve humanity. And we are excited for this reunion to take place in Southeast Asia. We chose this region because of its significant and growing impact in the Ethereum ecosystem. Southeast Asia is home to many OG Ethereum projects and communities like ETHKL in Malaysia, like Ethereum Singapore, have been established for years. And newer communities like ETH Pad Thai here in Thailand, ETH63 in the Philippines, Web3 Saigon in Vietnam, Web3 Together in Cambodia, and many, many more are also making strong contributions, showing just how vibrant and active this region really is. And over the past year, on the road to Devcon, we've seen inspiring energy and enthusiasm from all of these communities and more across South and Southeast Asia, with over 100 educational events organized by these communities, for these communities, to help grow awareness and understanding of Ethereum. And we're excited that with Devcon, we had the opportunity to support the visions and goals of these communities, and we're excited to be part of this ongoing journey, and can't wait to see the impact this region will have in this region and beyond. And we chose Thailand to be the meeting spot, with a big benefit of it being very internationally accessible and particularly having a relatively friendly visa policy. From Southeast Asia, we have nearly 3,000 people representing all 11 Southeast Asian countries. But Ethereum is global, and so should Devcon be. And we're happy to say that this is the most global Devcon ever. People have come from over 145 countries, all six continents, and to all be here at Devcon right now. And that's the strength. The strength of the Ethereum community lies in this diversity and the unique perspectives each of you bring. But even though the Ethereum community consists of people from all over the world, from all different backgrounds and all with unique histories, those of you here, the attendees of Devcon, have a lot in common. We are future-pilled people. It's to say that we believe the future will be radically different, and that this future could be better or it could be worse. But that certain technologies could be better, certain technologies such as Ethereum and the intentional development of these technologies have the opportunity to make the future brighter for humanity. And we realize that this better future won't automatically happen. We need coordination guided by values that we believe in deeply. Values like open global accessibility, like censorship resistance, credible neutrality, privacy, verifiability, and building hard, durable protocols. We want to see a future where these values are embraced, not only in blockchains, but also in societal institutions. And this requires taking wise, sometimes hard choices, and recognizing that while shortcuts are tempting, And while others may be more willing to take them, we should not. And this is not us moving slow. This is us moving with intention. It is this type of future-focused, long-term thinking that your fellow attendees here at Devcon share. It is this thinking that sets Ethereum apart. And to share more about what makes Ethereum unique, and to shed light on all that we really have accomplished over the past 2 years and beyond while working towards these goals, I would like to invite someone I respect a lot, a member of the Ethereum Foundation leadership team, Josh Stark.
Thanks, Skylar. Hello, everybody. I want to say thank you for that incredible opening. Both the dances, the opening video, nobody does it like Devcon. Thank you to everyone that put that together. Hi, everybody, and thank you for being here. I'm so thrilled to be in Bangkok in Southeast Asia for Devcon 7, the biggest Devcon in Ethereum's history. I'm Josh Stark, and I work for Ethereum at the Ethereum Foundation, where I'm honored to serve as part of the leadership team. In the next hour and a bit more, you're going to hear 3 talks from me, from Aya, from Vitalik, and we think they form a complementary whole. I'm going to talk about Ethereum as it is today, in simple terms that I hope anyone can understand, the present. Vitalik will go deeper into the technology and also talk about Ethereum's roadmap, the future. And Aya will talk about the philosophy, the ideas that unite the Ethereum ecosystem across time and space, and the ideas that the EF works to nurture around the world. In the 9 years since Ethereum first launched, our ecosystem has been through a lot. It hasn't always felt like a straight line, because it hasn't been one. There have been some ups and downs, some hard struggles, and some challenges we've overcome. This talk is about this moment in time. In 2024, what is the story of Ethereum? Where are we? And to tell that story, I want to break this down into 3 big themes. First, applications, the ecosystem of products and companies and decentralized protocols that millions of people around the world use today. Secondly, I want to talk about infrastructure, the technology under the hood that makes it all possible. And thirdly, the community, the human side of Ethereum, our social layer. So first, applications. Ethereum is changing the world because it solves problems for people. Because applications built on Ethereum offer something that users want, whether that user is a small business, an internet community, or an ordinary person. Ethereum is for users, and in 2024, that application ecosystem has never been stronger. But Ethereum doesn't do just one thing. Ethereum is a platform, a credibly neutral platform, a canvas for exploration where developers can build things that are often unexpected. And one of those things is stablecoins. Stablecoins are tokens that are designed to hold a stable value, for instance, by keeping close in value to a fiat currency like USD or euros. Stablecoins on Ethereum give every human being the freedom to transact, to send money home to their families, to preserve their savings, to access the financial stability that, until Ethereum came along, was not accessible to billions. Stablecoins are a fundamental increase in global human freedom. It's no wonder, then, that stablecoins have become such a huge success. Since first emerging in the early 2010s, stablecoins have gained wide adoption across the ecosystem, not just on Ethereum. But behind these big statistics are individual stories, use cases, applications. Like in Latin America, where Bitso uses stablecoins on Ethereum to offer people low-fee remittances across borders. Or in Indonesia, where Pintu uses stablecoins to offer their users financial tools to manage their savings. Stablecoins are available on many blockchains, but the Ethereum ecosystem has a unique role as the home to the majority of all stablecoins that exist. The Ethereum ecosystem, meaning Ethereum L1 and Ethereum L2s, is home to 55% of all stablecoins. And stablecoins in the Ethereum ecosystem are now comparable to traditional global payment systems like Visa and MasterCard. So far in this year, 2024, stablecoin volume is 86% of MasterCard total volume and 53% of Visa. That is incredible when you think about where this all started. So what else have you built on Ethereum? Ethereum is DeFi. DeFi is financial services and tools built on Ethereum, applications that use Ethereum's unique properties to build financial products that can't discriminate or be turned off, and which give people greater control over their money. It includes lending and borrowing, insurance, payments, trading, and complex things like derivatives, the beginnings of the Internet's global financial system. And DeFi matters because it gives everyone on Earth access to the same financial tools. DeFi levels the playing field. And in 2024, Ethereum is the home of DeFi. The majority of all value locked in DeFi protocols across the entire crypto ecosystem is in the Ethereum ecosystem. But behind these charts, again, are small use cases and specific use cases, like EthicHub, that uses DeFi on Ethereum to connect small business owners, like coffee producers in Mexico, with the lenders who can give them the capital that they need to grow their business. There's so much more to the DeFi ecosystem, which I couldn't hope to cover today. Thank you to the hundreds of DeFi teams, companies, organizations, DAOs, and individual developers who have innovated and expanded Ethereum's user base. DeFi began on Ethereum, and you are the reason that it is still its home. DeFi and stablecoins were some of the earliest use cases on Ethereum, and they continue to mature and grow and expand. But Ethereum is also used for so much more. Many new things that are being built, new categories of application, some of which we didn't even expect when Ethereum was first invented. Ethereum is still the blockchain where new things are invented and deployed and scaled. Like the emerging sector of decentralized social networks, like Farcaster, Lens, or Zora. Social networks where users can own their identities and share in the growth of the platform, and which are interoperable with all the other applications in the Ethereum ecosystem. Or games that use Ethereum to offer players new experiences, like Eve Frontier, a new MMO where the physics of the game are expressed as smart contracts, and players can write code to build autonomous worlds without constraints in that game world. Ethereum is also emerging as the default foundation for digital cryptographic identities. The Ethereum name service has served the ecosystem for years with human-readable names that let users sign in with Ethereum. Or new projects like Anon Adar, which gives developers the tools to build privacy-preserving applications on top of the existing Indian ID system. Ethereum is also being used to support real-world physical infrastructure by offering a trustworthy digital platform. Glow Solar powers hundreds of active solar farms around the world, incentivized through Ethereum-based rewards. And the Ethereum ecosystem is home to incredible breakout applications like Polymarket. Polymarket is a prediction market where you can wager on the outcome of future events. And by viewing the markets for those wagers, anyone can gain a better insight into the future. Huge kudos to the Polymarket team for showing so many people around the world the power of open systems built on blockchains, and to the Polygon team for building the infrastructure that made it possible. Round of applause. They deserve it. And I know I speak for so many in the Ethereum ecosystem when I say that we're so excited for Polygon Proof of Stake to complete its transition to becoming an Ethereum Validium. We're really looking forward to it. So what I see when I look at this is that Ethereum is where ideas enter production. Prediction markets began as an idea, debated and discussed and formalized in academic over 30, 20 years, largely by Robin Hanson, who might be in the room somewhere right now because I know he's speaking this week. And it was on Ethereum where a series of experiments led to this breakout moment for Polymarket. Or quadratic funding, which also began as an idea, discussed and formalized by people like Glenn Weil, Vitalik, and many others. And it was on Ethereum where multiple teams have turned those ideas into products that serve users around the world. But there's one group of users that we haven't talked about yet. And of course, that is Developers, developers, developers. Ethereum is for developers. Ethereum is a platform where your code has superpowers, where your software gains this durable performance, this hardness that lets you build things that last, things that millions of people can depend on. And in 2024, the Ethereum ecosystem remains the developer platform of choice for the entire crypto industry. When we look at the total open source developers working in crypto, nearly half are working in the Ethereum ecosystem. And when we look at data about what blockchains founders are or want to build in, the Ethereum ecosystem's lead becomes even more apparent. And one huge reason for this is the deep developer ecosystem, developer tooling ecosystem rather, people and companies and projects who have worked heads down for years to build the compilers, the tools, the developer environments, and much more that lets developers build safely on Ethereum. Thank you. So when we zoom out on applications, what do we see? Ethereum is home to the most mature use cases, like DeFi and stablecoins, which continue to scale. Ethereum is the place where new things happen: social, prediction markets, programmable crypto, identity, gaming, and so much more. And Ethereum is home to the best developer ecosystem, with the most Web3 devs and the best-in-class platform. This is Ethereum's application ecosystem this year, and it is, I think, our ecosystem's goal to continue growth in every one of these dimensions into the future. Okay, that's applications, but in order to understand where we are today, the second big theme we have to talk about is infrastructure. And what I mean by that is that underneath all these applications that we just talked about are layers and layers of technology. Over the last few years, the Ethereum ecosystem has made huge investments in improving the infrastructure of Ethereum. Ethereum is the only blockchain, really, that's had enough demand and use to test the limits of what we have today and force us to improve the infrastructure in response. We've taken the hard but necessary step of actually scaling Ethereum. And the growth we're seeing now is enabled by that investment. These updates include updates to the L1, but also the launch and development of Ethereum's network of L2s. Now, there's a lot to know about L2s, and this week is a great chance to go deep on them. But I'm going to keep it simple for this talk, because the big idea behind L2 is relatively simple. Here's Ethereum L1, Layer 1, aka mainnet, the original smart contract platform and the most secure blockchain in the world. But L1 only has so much space, so much surface area that can be used. And it can be relatively expensive because of that. You're paying for these very high security and decentralization properties. Here are Ethereum's L2s. They are networks built on top of Ethereum L1. They expand its surface area outwards. They make more space available for developers and users, which means that costs can come down. But because they can be attached to L1 in a specific way, they can also be extremely secure and interoperable. Now, we shouldn't be complacent. I think many of us know there's a lot of work to be done here. But there's some evidence today in 2024 that this scaling strategy that the Ethereum ecosystem has invested in is working. For one, people are using them. The adoption of L2 is happening. When we look at daily average transactions per second, this year, that metric has exploded as more L2s have launched and as more use is migrating onto them. When we look at total value locked inside Ethereum's L2s, it also exploded earlier this year and has been growing steadily since. And at the same time, we have low fees unlocked by upgrades shipped earlier this year. Right now, on Ethereum L2, you can send $1, $100, $1 million to anyone on Earth for less than a cent. Again, that's incredible. And low fees are important not just for the obvious reason, but also because they enable a wider diversity of use cases. They make it possible for the average person to use Ethereum, and they make it easier for developers to experiment with new things. The second piece of evidence is that developers are starting to build customized L2s that take advantage of the flexibility they can offer. Each L2 in this ring around Ethereum expands its surface area, but each of them can be designed a little bit differently. It is its own blockchain that can have its own rules conforming to certain standards, but there can be a lot of customization and deviation. And this matters because it lets Ethereum offer a wider variety of features to developers and users, and also incorporate the best new ideas from any ecosystem. For example, MegaETH is pushing the limits of EVM performance. WorldChain is designing their chain to prioritize block space and offer a subsidy to users it can verify as human. Unichain will try to mitigate and address MEV using a technology called Trusted Execution Environments. And Eclipse is bringing alternate virtual machines into the Ethereum ecosystem. The third piece of evidence is that we're seeing institutions and businesses launching their own L2s to bring their communities into Ethereum. This includes centralized exchanges like Coinbase, Kraken, and OKX, and also organizations from outside crypto, like Sony and their Sonoium project. And it's easy to understate how incredible that is. But with Ethereum, we're not only building a new decentralized on-chain world, but we are converting centralized traditional institutions to become more decentralized themselves, to offer their users something new, something that wasn't possible before. And over the last few years, we've also seen projects that were L1s choose to migrate into the Ethereum ecosystem by becoming L2s. Welcome to the Infinite Garden. We're very proud to call you part of our ecosystem. All of this, it's positive. It's worth applauding. But it's not done. And we can't lose sight of the fact that there's so much more work to do. Right now, I think there's two big quests, at least two big quests, for the ecosystem when it comes to the rollup-centric roadmap and L2s on Ethereum. The first quest is just to remove the training wheels. The majority of L2s in the Ethereum ecosystem have not yet reached their final form, where they get as much security and decentralization as possible from L1. The picture I showed earlier is really more like this right now. Many of these L2s are not yet firmly attached to Ethereum L1. They're in the process of testing, designing, and securing and finalizing their designs and preparing to make that step. Each week, L2s around the ecosystem get closer to that goal. We usually talk about this in terms of stages. Stage 0 is the starting point, where there are still many training wheels set. At stage 1, we remove some of those protections. And on stage 2, that's the end goal, where the rollup becomes firmly attached to Ethereum and secured by it as much as possible. You can learn a lot more about the details of that on l2beat.com. But we're making progress, and we have lots to be proud of here. So far, 2 full EVM L2s, Optimism and Arbitrum, have made it to stage 1, and they are sure to be followed by many more in the near future, maybe even in the very near future. And also, a huge kudos to L2Beat. You've seen me put their graphs up on here already a couple times. They do a lot of work to understand and evaluate and educate our ecosystem about the status of the L2 networks. Yeah. You help the Ethereum ecosystem understand itself better, and you hold us accountable to our ambitious goals. It's an essential function. Thank you. The second big quest is interoperability. And what I mean by that is that today, using all of these L2 networks on Ethereum, it's not as good as it could be. It can be kind of frustrating and confusing sometimes to move from one L2 onto mainnet, onto another L2, to interact with someone who's across the ecosystem from you. And using the Ethereum ecosystem should just feel like you're using Ethereum. It needs to look more like this: an easy, interoperable network that feels like one ecosystem because it is one ecosystem. And we'll get there. There's a ton of work being done in the past year to last week, this week, on all these problems. Soon we will have addresses that just work everywhere. You'll be able to send from one L2 to another very easily, and we'll be able to verify L2s using light clients. There's so much to learn here. If you want to learn more about these challenges and if you want to help solve them, there's several talks and workshops going on this week, as well as a forum later as well. Now, all of these L2s are or will be secured by Ethereum L1, the heart of the world computer. There's a lot to be said about L1, how far it has come and where it's going. Too much to say in this talk. But I do just want to say that in 2024, I think part of our story is that we can kind of take L1 for granted because it's so reliable. We have become accustomed to it being boring in a good way, durable, hardened, secure. Thousands of validators around the world reliably coming to consensus. Every 12 seconds, a new block for us to write the future on, the heartbeat of the on-chain world. It's an incredible accomplishment. Ethereum doesn't go down. It has been challenged and tested. Sometimes we go through stormy weather and strong winds, but Ethereum has never broken. The third big theme to understand where we are today in 2024 is community. We've got to talk about us. Everyone in this room, everyone elsewhere in the venue, everyone streaming from home, and all the many thousands of others who are heads down building on Ethereum right now. The Ethereum community has gotten so big that it's hard to wrap our head around it. We definitely can't all fit in the same room. And even it's hard to have visibility into other parts of it when you're in your own niche. The Ethereum community is users of Ethereum applications, holders of ETH, app developers, protocol researchers, client developers, L2 developers and debaters, stakers and restakers, degens and regens, activists, radicals, artists, musicians and authors, educators, translators, students, complete noobs, and relatively ancient graybeards. There are so many different ways of being part of the Ethereum ecosystem today. The other truly striking thing about the Ethereum community is how global it is. Skylar already talked about this, but this year alone, at least 73 big events around the world in over 44 countries. Every one of those events represents a local community, often who have worked for years to bring and welcome the Ethereum ecosystem into their home. We're not just a little bit international, we are truly international. And every region, like Southeast Asia, has a claim to being the home of Ethereum. I want to talk about one other thing, a change that I've observed. I don't have a metric or a fancy graph to show it to you, but maybe you've noticed it too. In the last few years, the Ethereum ecosystem has not just grown bigger, it has deepened. It has matured. In 2024, many of us understand this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. We are putting down roots. We are in this for the long haul. We are building the teams and organizations and companies and working to make them last. And we are making sure there will be people to continue the work that needs to be done. We are training the next generation. Our ecosystem has gained the confidence to plan for success. That is a very significant milestone. So, at the beginning we asked a question, what is the story of Ethereum in 2024? I see the early stages of a virtuous cycle. We are growing in applications, in use cases, in users, and that early growth is testing and pushing it, forcing us to expand and forcing us to improve. And so we build bigger and better infrastructure, and by doing so, we unlock a new phase of growth. And this interplay between adoption and growth and infrastructure, it attracts a community, people who are drawn to its opportunities, people who want to plant their own seeds, people who want to steward the whole into the next generation. We can't get complacent. The challenges are real. There are many hard problems to solve, and they won't stop coming. But remember, Ethereum hits hard problems first because we have gone the furthest. That is a strength and not a weakness. Thank you. Have a great Devcon.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh, for showing us all that the Ethereum ecosystem has accomplished to date. But it is not just technology and innovation that has allowed us to get to where we are today. The values that this movement embodies are critical to all that we have achieved today. And it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage someone who truly understands the importance of these values. Please give a very warm welcome to the Executive Director of the Ethereum Foundation, Aya Miyaguchi.
everyone. Sawadee-ka. I'm very excited. We're finally here in Southeast Asia. My name is Aya Miyaguchi from the Ethereum Foundation. Thank you. So, Ethereum's permissionless value has enabled many people to participate in all different layers, whether you're part of the protocol, R&D, layer 2s, applications, or community building and education. While there is so much happening, like Josh just shared, a lot of things, I'm often asked what I'm most excited about. I am excited Ethereum is more ready. You saw this on the video too. There are more than 8,000 monthly active contributors, by far the largest in the space to the platform development. More than 100 community hubs across 6 continents, not yet in Antarctica. But now Ethereum is consuming a lot less energy after the merge, more than 99% less. Scaling solution, yes, that's very good. Thank you, thank you. I like this energy. Scaling solutions have made transactions a lot cheaper and faster, and the cost is actually less than 1 cent if you look at the cost for on the layer 2s. You guys are doing an amazing job. Advancements with programmable cryptography are enabling privacy in a way that wasn't possible a few years ago. It is easier for wallets to provide better UX. Now, more than ever, building on Ethereum is not only for idealistic reasons. So Ethereum is more ready to build a better humanity. I will give you only one example, decentralized ID. The city of Buenos Aires has finished onboarding 150,000 of its citizens to a Quark ID and the ID system built on Ethereum's layer 2. By next year, 4 other cities in Argentina and 2 cities in Mexico will follow suit. This is a, yes. I should mention that layer 2 is ZK Sync, congratulations. And also, the country of Bhutan's DID system is migrating to Ethereum's mainnet, currently successfully deployed on testnet. And up until the last few years, Ethereum was not the obvious choice for these places to choose. Now the infrastructure is ready, but why do you choose Ethereum among many other things? There are many ways to answer this, but if I have to put it in very simply, Ethereum is built for the long term. All the values we care, credible neutrality, open source, open participation, decentralization, could interfere with quick progress, quick growth, quick progress that we could brag about in the short term. That does not mean you cannot execute with these values. We saw the phenomenal execution of the merge in 2022. But the execution is much, much harder, and that's the trade-off Ethereum chooses to make always. All to be built for the long term by the people of the ecosystem that we all hope to also last for the long term. If we keep making the right decisions by really committing to those values, these values become the deep and strong roots that enable the long-lasting, resilient ecosystem. And when I say long-lasting, we're looking at the time when you and I do not exist, even with all the longevity supplements and methods that you are trying. And while Ethereum is built for the long term, there is a world I want to see beyond that. Infinite Garden is the vision that I've been introducing through the Ethereum Foundation to the broader communities. Infinite symbolizes the concept of infinite games we want to foster across the entire ecosystem, whether you're part of nonprofit, for-profit, public, or private sectors. We're part of a collective ongoing game. The goal isn't for one player to dominate the and end the game. That would make the game finite, but rather to keep the game going. Why I choose the word garden? There are several reasons, and today I'd like to explain by sharing this fascinating wisdom that I learned from the region of Southeast Asia. First, I will start with a quiz. Imagine I give you a piece of paper that has this drawing of an island. This may not look like an island. I actually drew it with a pencil. I say there are 4 kingdoms on this island, kingdom A, B, C, D. And I give you a pencil and ask you to draw the 4 areas of kingdom A, B, C, D. How would you do it? Did you imagine something like this? Or this? But you probably did not think of this. Mandalas. You might have seen this type of visual before. Mandala in Sanskrit means a circle. It's a ritual and spiritual symbol inspired by Eastern religion, like Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Shinto. Now, mandalas like this are often used for healing practices or meditation. But in Southeast Asia, mandala has an additional meaning. It refers to a system of governance that was common from ancient times through the early modern time. Mandala refers to the circles of power that coexisted without clear boundaries. Power was strong at the center and ambiguous and blurry at the edges. Some mandalas overlapped, while other areas remained beyond the reach of any circle. For example, the kingdom of Ayutthaya in the current Thailand and Lanshan in the current Laos, for example, shared overlapping spheres of power and influence. People in this overlapping space sometimes had duties to both kingdoms, but they were not necessarily oppressed by competing influences. Instead, they benefited from their dual affiliation, gaining access to opportunities, rich cultural exchanges, and religious freedom. This mandala structure endured over 1,500 years. The concept of mandala inspires us in different ways. First, visually, circles and spheres inspire us to think beyond rigid boundaries. While many of us might have tendency to think in squares or with clear boundaries, open and overlapping spaces with circles and spheres reflect more fluid and interconnected interactions. Today, all former mandala kingdoms are governed by states with clear boundaries. But things on the internet, for example, still operate in spheres of influence, like mandalas. And I like to share 2 specific wisdom from mandala that contributed to their longevity. Syncretism. This is the word, it seems like even English native speakers don't really know. Did you know? Well, I clearly did not know, but I heard this is also not really common. It's a concept of acceptance, merging, and blending of religions, cultures, and practices, which was woven into the mandala system of governance and cultural influence. No single culture or religion was imposed across the entire area. Instead, there was an acceptance of various beliefs, creating a fusion of Hinduism, Buddhism, indigenous practices, and later Islam. And another wisdom, despite their distinct political structures and diverse ethnic groups, the mandala kingdoms shared core values and cultural practices. These shared values are often deeply rooted in religion, governance, trade, and diplomacy, which help foster a common identity across these otherwise independent kingdoms. And monasteries and trade routes acted as decentralized hub for shared learning and values that united different regions without central control. So, how do we adapt this wisdom to our ecosystem? I want to share the story of the Ethereum Foundation described as an example. If we think of EF as one circle, it does not act as a singular center force that observe or control all other circles within the ecosystem. Its role is not to make itself the center, but to nurture initiatives and teams that embody the same principle, allowing the values of Ethereum to spread across a distributed network. In this way, it acts more like a monastery, fostering growth and collaboration rather than a castle with a single king. I will share the story of EF journey. This is how the EF originally was. The Ethereum ecosystem was equivalent to the Ethereum Foundation when it started. And I'm adding this orange color to highlight the space that shares value. So please remember, orange is values. This is when the ecosystem began to grow, with circles of talents and teams outside of the ES also contributing to Ethereum. I joined Ethereum and the EF also around this time. This is what people might think is a typical way for an organization to grow. The Ethereum Foundation, observing all the circles in, hiring all the talents inside the organization to grow. The EF kingdom is observing all the energy outside, becoming a bigger circle. In this scenario, the orange area of shared value still stays confined within the Ethereum Foundation. Or another misconception we often hear, since we have a guiding principle of subtraction at the EF, people often think by executing on the philosophy of subtraction, the EF is shrinking and the orange of shared values is also becoming smaller. But this is the wrong way to view it. In fact, what is actually happening is something like this. The EF is nurturing an expanding ecosystem, so the orange area of shared values grows beyond EF, beyond EF's direct control. The philosophy of subtraction does help create more space for collaboration and innovation, allowing these values to spread naturally across the entire ecosystem rather than being limited by one single entity. One concrete example of our action is this. The EF has been working on creating other institutions with both EF members or people outside. We've supported the launch of organizations such as Xerox PARC, the Nomic Foundation, Autobeat, and more recently, Argo Collective and GeoDeWork, which are working to be independent. Zooming in on this dynamic, Xerox PARC, for instance, is committed to advancing programmable cryptography, expanding Ethereum's boundaries with its sphere of influence. In this way, ideas in our space also have spheres of influence, and we do not want to limit the potential by EF owning them all. So whether an organization is inside EF or outside matters less in this context. What truly matters is that ideas from these institutions are pushing the boundaries, sharing values broader to the broader space. And what's great is that in Ethereum, the EF is not the only organization, not the only entity expanding its community and ideas while sharing these core values. Other teams and organizations are contributing to this effort, each adding their unique perspective and energy to the collective ecosystem. I see the potential of Ethereum and all the things beyond it as exponentially vast due to the countless future circles that can be created, whether or not the EF is directly involved. This is the resilience of Ethereum. With many organizations and their ideas growing their spheres of influence and some blending and merging, the ecosystem remains diverse and colorful, yet they're all interconnected by shared roots, the foundational values of Ethereum. It represents the true innovation of the ecosystem, connecting ideas and efforts in a way that has never been done. This is why I call it a garden. Gardens are continuously growing, evolving, and changing. Underneath the surface, underneath the soil, there are roots, microbes, fungi, interconnected, coexisting without clear boundaries, sharing information. And nurturing diversity is critical because biodiversity is the only way for all of them to survive. They're all playing a long, infinite game together. Now, going back to this idea, thinking beyond the time of our existence, which one of these scenarios do you think would last longer? One big circle observing all other circles, or nurturing other circles and sharing values? I hope the answer is clear now. Imagine an ecosystem where every circle has the freedom to grow, expand, and innovate, sharing the same powerful values. That's how we built something truly remarkable, long-lasting. And that is the end of my talk. I hope you can discover these values throughout this Devcon week and also notice the circles around you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aya, for sharing more about your vision of your understanding of the ecosystem and the vision for the Ethereum Foundation. It reminds me of the common adage, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And we want to go far. There's a lot to do, and to share a little bit more about all that we aim to do, what the future of Ethereum could look like, and how we can get there, I'd like to introduce the founder of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin.
Great. So Ethereum in 30 minutes. So this is a presentation that I've given at, I think, basically every single Devcon since launch, though I think what's interesting is how as Ethereum, the ecosystem, changes, and as Ethereum, the protocol changes, as the times change, the contents also end up changing quite a bit, right? So if you go back to the equivalent of this from 2015, you'll hear a lot about Uncle blocks. Of course, Uncle blocks are a feature of proof of work. Now we have proof of stake, and so we don't have Uncle blocks anymore. Now, Ethereum also, of course, now has layer 2s, and back in 2016, this would not contain layer 2s at all, and now, of course, as we know, layer 2s are half the story, right? So Ethereum is, above all, an evolving ecosystem, and the contents of this are going to keep changing as the technology changes and also as the emphasis of the ecosystem changes from building basic infrastructure to now also really putting a huge amount of focus on the applications. So what is Ethereum? So first, Ethereum is the world computer. So who here remembers Ethereum being the world computer? So, this is the place where I'm supposed to like put that meme where like there's the guy with the gun in space saying "always has been," but I don't know. I never understood why like giving someone such an amazing and beautiful revelation is supposed to come at the same time as shooting them in space 20,000 kilometers away from home. And so, I'm not going to do that today. So Ethereum is the world computer. It always has been, always will be. So in addition to this, Ethereum is an incredibly large and diverse on-chain economy. And fortunately, Josh, right before well, one skipped before me. Yeah, made an incredibly good presentation talking about all of the different aspects of the economy. And also, Ethereum is an incredibly large and diverse global community. And Aya and Josh and the automated like intro thing before that, I think, did a really good job of showing that too. So Ethereum is many things, right? I think they're like also probably you're supposed to like put up a flashing sign saying ETH is money as well, but Ethereum is a lot of things, right? And Ethereum is all of these different things at the same time. So how does the world computer work, right? So the way that I think about this is layer 1 is the trust machine, and layer 2 is the GPU, right? So the layer 1 of Ethereum, that is the core Ethereum blockchain, this is the anchor that keeps the rest of the ecosystem safe and holds the rest of the ecosystem together. Layer 1 is the reason why layer 2s are able to trustlessly talk to each other, and at least once everything upgrades to stage 2, you will be able to take an asset issued on Optimism and then move it and hold it inside of a smart contract on Arbitrum and do so with zero counterparty risk. Layer 1 is not there to be ultra fast. It is not there to do 1 million transactions per second. Layer 1 is first and foremost there to be decentralized, to be robust, and to be something that is dependable. Layer 2 is the GPU. So layer 2 is all of you in the room who are part of any single layer 2. Who here is part of a layer 2? Yay, who here has used a layer 2? Who here has used layer 1? Good. It's we're all users here. So actually, there's lots of these different GPUs, right? And Ethereum, the world computer, is able to hold together because each and every one of these GPUs is connected to the trust machine through optimistic proof systems, zero-knowledge proofs, snarks, starks, Binias, Jolts, Plonk, Spelunkamadunk, whatever the buzzwords are, right? All of these systems actually ensure that layer 1 is able to trustlessly verify what is going on inside of the layer 2s, and layer 2s also are able to trustlessly read what is happening on layer 1. So there's an important interplay between these two components, and together they make up the Ethereum that is here today. So what is the L1? It's a chain. It runs proof of stake. It doesn't afraid of anything. So what does this mean, right? So Ethereum layer 1 is a chain that has existed altogether for more than 9 years now, and it's existed in its current proof of stake form for a little bit over 2 years. And I think one of the really important things for a base layer to have is you want to have clear evidence that you're building on a base layer that is decentralized, that is open, that is robust, and that is likely to keep those traits going forward into the future, right? And one part of that, of course, is something that is slow to change, right? One part of that is being something that is not suddenly going to wake up on a Tuesday, have new management, and then suddenly decide that it's just totally going to start deleting a whole bunch of different applications, change its entire model, and do other, push the fees up by a factor of 10 and do other things without warning. Another part of decentralization and resilience is actually recovery, right? So whenever a problem actually starts to arise, actually be able to recover from it and have some way of actually improving the qualities of the layer 1 over time. So over here, this is on the left a chart of Bitcoin proof of work mining pools, and on the chart on the right, Ethereum proof of stake mining pools. Actually, I'm deliberately being generous here because putting Bitcoin proof of work mining pools, because before the merge, actually, Ethereum proof of work was even more concentrated than this, right? And so what we see here on the right is you see actually a pretty diverse different set of staking pools. And if you zoom into either of the top items on the chart, on the top left, so Lido, and it has somewhere a little bit under 30%. But then actually, Lido is like, it's not one actor, right? It's a DAO. Technically, the deposits are split between 40 different node operators approximately, and there's some more complicated structure that keeps updating. So I think it's reasonable to think of it as being like somewhere between 1 actor and 40 actors. Exactly where, like this is like a problem for you social science people to figure out, right? How do you actually quantify the decentralization thing? There's even grant opportunities for this stuff. So that's that's number 1, right? And then number 2, unidentified. Now, unidentified is not an actor, just like there's no the any key on your keyboard is not actually a key. So unidentified, like we actually don't know what it is. There's probably lots of solo stakers, lots of small business stakers, lots of like various tiny staking pools, also not one actor, right? So Ethereum L1 today actually has a surprisingly high degree of decentralization in its proof-of-stake design, and this is a property that I think has only gotten better over time. Here is one property that actually has gotten a lot better. So Ethereum, about 5 years ago, was basically just Geth, right? And when you have an ecosystem that is dominated by one client, that itself becomes a central point of failure, right? So who here remembers the 2016 DOS attacks? Yay. So, remember, wake up 5:17 a.m., get a military-style wake-up call, like say, hey, you have to go down to, like the thing that we suddenly turned into a war room now, go down, and then, oh, someone discovered a bug in the client, now the entire chain is stopped, and then we fix it, and then 2 to 3 days later, some guy somewhere finds another bug, and then 3 days later, another bug, and then that keeps going on for a whole month until eventually we have to hard fork. But during that period, actually, the ability for Ethereum to have 2 different clients, at the time they were Geth and Parity, basically saved the chain. There were times when there was a bug that would hit Geth but not Parity. There were times when there was a bug that would hit Parity but not Geth. So Ethereum actually gained a lot from having multiple software implementations, and this is something that, as of 2024, is probably at the best that it's ever been in Ethereum's history. So, okay. So on the left, you have consensus clients. Consensus clients handle the proof-of-stake part of Ethereum. On the right, you have execution clients. Execution clients handle the EVM part of Ethereum. So as we can see, the single client with the highest market share is Geth, which is like somewhere around 50%. And actually, this is from a source that's basically assuming that most unidentified clients are Geth, and so it could easily be below 50%, right? So let's say it's about 50. So what happens if there is a bug in any Ethereum client, like literally today, right now? Okay, anyone here has like a bug? Okay, Josh, can you check, is Ethereum still running? I'm going to guess it is. Bet like 99.99% plus on Polymarket. Okay, so case 1. What happens if the client is Geth? That's the worst case. If the client is Geth and there's a bug, what realistically happens? Basically, chain splits in half. One half follows Geth, one half follows the other clients. But on both sides, the chain stops finalizing. To finalize, you need 2/3. If you have less than 2/3, the chain keeps going, blocks keep getting created, but the chain stops finalizing. And so if you are a user, an application, a business, and you're waiting for confirmation on some transaction, you're probably actually going to be waiting for finality. And so if the chain splits in half because of a client bug, well, actually, neither chain is going to finalize, and so you're going to detect that, and you're going to be on standby. What's realistically going to happen? Core devs get on high alert, figure out which client actually has the bug, and the bug gets fixed. The one time this happened in Ethereum, actually, fun fact, I actually set the transaction that did it myself. This was back in 2016. Basically, everything was fixed within 12 hours. So that's the worst case. Every other case, basically, if Prism and Lighthouse have a bug, all that happens is that Ethereum stops finalizing for like about a day at most, and then it just goes back to normal. Any other client, you're not going to notice anything at all. So in terms of practical decentralization, having multiple clients is extremely helpful. And also having multiple clients is extremely helpful because it diversifies the power and the control over the Ethereum ecosystem, especially in any kind of contentious situation, right? If some kind of DAO fork type incident happened again, and one particular development team made a choice that is unpopular, then even if that one development team just insists on pushing it through, users are going to be very easily able to just switch to the other clients and just completely route around them. This is not something that is anywhere close to that practical in a single client ecosystem. Having a diverse multi-client ecosystem is actually very difficult to achieve. I think aside from Ethereum, no other chain has really achieved anything close to this. And even outside of Ethereum, like even web browsers. Web browsers, supposed to be an open standard. Reality is like something like 80% of the plus of the ecosystem, probably even more, runs on some fork of WebKit. And the rest runs on Firefox, which is kind of valiantly trying to hold its own as an alternative and is doing pretty well. It's one of the browsers that I use. But like you can see, right, like there are natural pressures toward homogenization and toward one implementation winning, and Ethereum actually has managed to buck this trend. So in Ethereum, 2 years ago, this chart was worse. And so Ethereum's decentralization is not only able to not get worse, but it's also able to actively respond to problems that exist and over time push to make them better. If you're building an application that you needed to exist 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and that you want to be robust and continue working 5 or 10 years from now, what properties do you want the chain you're building on to have? I think properties like these are exactly what you would be looking for. With 32 ETH, or with less than 32 ETH if you join a pool, there's more and more really interesting pool options that are appearing. There's even things like O-ball squad staking, there's options around, okay. There's options around basically creating smaller pools with your friends. There's different pools that follow all kinds of different rules. And so there's lots of different ways for you to become a staker. And if you're a staker, then you become part of this network of nodes that is securing the Ethereum blockchain. So earn rewards while securing Ethereum. So I guess this is how the Foundation propaganda describes it. It has a cute elephant. So good cheers for the elephant. So you too can join the network and you too can help secure it. So also, even if you're not a staker, you can also run an Ethereum node and you can verify the chain. So this is a computer. I mean, I guess these days nobody even has desktops that look like this, right? It's like you either have laptops or you have some crazy GPU construction that's basically looks almost like a server, right? But I don't know. I mean, I just shoved a desktop computer into a Stable Diffusion 3.5 and it put this out. So that's the computer you get. You too can run an Ethereum node on your computer and you can verify the Ethereum chain, right? So this is really important because if you have users that are verifying the chain, then even a majority of the stakers acting together, even 2/3 of the stakers acting together, are not able to change the rules on people without everything breaking, right? There's the Ethereum rules, they can only change through a hard fork that is agreed upon through wide community consensus. They cannot be pushed through by a majority or supermajority of the stakers. And this is something that is really key and really important and makes blockchains very different from almost any other kind of protocol. And I think this is one of those things that's really valuable and really important to preserve. I think even among blockchain ecosystems, it's basically Bitcoin and Ethereum that really have a strong culture of real, at least among the large ones, right? Of actually trying to make it possible and keep improving people's ability to verify the chain. And there's a lot of protocol upgrades that are coming, that precisely have the goal of making it even easier to verify the chain. So today, you have this. Tomorrow, you will be able to, one, run a node without requiring more than a small amount of storage using stateless clients. So this is in my big series of 6 posts. This is going to be the one on the Verge, right? So stateless clients is a very important section. Light clients. So there is a project called Helios, which is doing a form of light verification of the chain. So light verification is not perfect. It still follows the consensus. And so if 51% of nodes change the rules, you are going to follow them. But it does mean that if you're using a light client, then you do not have to trust an RPC node to tell you any kind of information about the chain. And so Helios is building a light client for Ethereum that does verification of the proof of stake part of Ethereum, and also actually starting to build light clients for L2s as well. The longer term future, of course, is we want to snark the whole chain, and once we snark the whole chain, you will be able to verify the Ethereum rules on extremely large or extremely tiny hardware. So node running requirements and pushing those down is a key part of the Ethereum roadmap going forward. Also, staking with less ETH. This is one of those very active research requirements, right? So 32 ETH, it's still high. And it's even higher than it was 2 weeks ago. But no, okay. But I think I would like for people to be stakers with 1 ETH. And so I think there's different ways to do this. There is Orbit, there is just making a large number of aggregation improvements, but there's a lot of protocol improvements that are coming specifically in order to make staking easier and more accessible, and to make running a node that verifies the chain easier and more accessible. So what runs on the Ethereum L1? So some high-value application use cases. So a lot of high-value DeFi runs on L1. ENS is currently on L1, though it's increasingly doing more and more with layer 2s. Then a lot of various applications, all kinds of things in every category. People just hold assets on layer 1. So lots of high-value application use cases on layer 1. Also, managing block roots and state roots and proof systems for layer 2s. Layer 1 is the thing that secures layer 2s, cross layer 2 operations. Layer 1 needs to still be powerful enough to handle a lot of things happening, especially in the case where a layer 2 fails. The difference between a layer 2 and an independent chain is that even if your layer 2 gets 51% attacked or 91% attacked, or the team shuts down, layer 1 still stands there to protect the users. Users are able to prove their assets and their ownership and their state inside of the layer 2 and migrate it back down to layer 1. In order for this to actually be possible, layer 1 needs to actually be powerful enough to handle the load if a layer 2 actually does fail. Recently, there was a live experiment of this. DYDX v3, I believe, shut down recently, and the L2 Beat people actually wrote their own implementation of escape hatch software, and so without any involvement from the DYDX team, users are able to take any assets that they have inside of DYDX v3 and bring it back down to the Ethereum L1. So layer 2s are not just multisigs. The ability to actually move your assets out of the layer 2 and back to layer 1 if the layer 2 fails without the layer 2 team's involvement is not just theory, it is reality. So, okay, L1 runs some applications, and L1 protects the L2s. What do the L2s do? L2s provide speed and scale. So on the left here, you have a chart of basically the same as the chart that Josh showed earlier, basically layer 2 fees, and this is just what they've done this year. So this year, layer 2 fees have gone down from about 50 cents to less than 1 cent. So this is a massive change, right? This basically means that for an incredibly wide class of applications, Ethereum has overnight gone from being basically unaffordable to being completely affordable. So that's fees. Now, transaction inclusion times, right? So who here remembers the experience of sending a transaction and then having to wait some arbitrary number of minutes, could be 10, could be 40, could be 90, for the transaction to get included? Who here remembers having this experience in Ethereum? Who here remembers having this experience in Ethereum in the past 6 months? So Ethereum has improved massively. Now, this is actually a pretty a linear progression that we've had all the way since the beginning, right? So Bitcoin, 10-minute block times, and Bitcoin has this thing called a Poisson distribution that, of course, Ethereum also had during the proof of work era, but then we decided we don't like fish, and so we switched to proof of stake. So Bitcoin, average block time 10 minutes, often you have to wait up to 1 hour. Now, in Ethereum, the average block time is 12 seconds, but then there's still this annoying phenomenon where if you send a transaction and you get unlucky with the gas price that you set, maybe you would have to wait 10 minutes or 20 minutes accidentally. EIP 1559, which came in 2021, basically solved that and created a situation where you're able to reliably send a transaction and expect to see it included usually within 1 block. And then the merge, because of this interesting quirk of mathematics, even though the average time between blocks reduced only from 13 seconds to 12 seconds, the average time between you sending a transaction and your transaction getting included in a block reduced from a little bit more than 13 seconds to a little bit more than 6 seconds. So math problem, figure out why this is true. It's actually a really fun fact. So post-merge, basically it goes down to about 6 to 30 seconds. And then finally, with layer 2s, you have pre-confirmations, and you have layer 2s that are fast enough to just confirm your transaction within a couple hundred milliseconds. So layer 2s provide speed, layer 2s provide scale. And the way that you as a user see scale is you get to be part of an application where lots and lots of things are happening, and at the same time, your transaction fees get to continue to be cheap. So history of Ethereum, right? So November 2013, the white paper. July 2015, the launch. Around 2018, that was the time when Ethereum settled on its approximate design for proof of stake and data availability sampling. So the original papers and documents for data availability sampling and erasure coding, I wrote those back in 2017, and then we settled on the Casper, the friendly finality gadget, also at the end of 2017. Actually, if you really want and you can dig, I think it's either GitHub Ethereum Research or GitHub Ethereum Simple Casper. You just search for the directory called Simple Casper, and you can find contracts written in Serpent. Who here remembers Serpent? Okay, who here uses Serpent? Good. I think Python is really beautiful, but I think if you want that, then you should code in Viper. Viper is actually great. It's actually kept improving quite a bit for the last couple of years. So we had basically okay, yay, clap for Viper. Okay. And so in 2017, actually, we attempted to basically do this full abstraction thing and even write the proof of stake logic directly as a smart contract. And so there's this really fun demo that we launched at, I think it was actually 23:20 Bangkok time on December 31st, 2017. And we wanted to get something out before New Year's, but then the demo actually, it ended up breaking pretty quickly. It was early days. But since then, of course, it's not early days anymore, and at the start of 2018, a really massive effort started to actually build out the Ethereum proof-of-stake system and to build out the Ethereum scaling system, which has since then turned into the blobs that we have today. 2022, the merge, switching from proof-of-work to proof-of-stake. 2024, the surge, part 1, right? So if you look into the roadmap diagram and you look into the surge section, you see that there's 2 milestones. There's one that I call basic roll-up scaling, and there's one that I call full roll-up scaling. And basic roll-up scaling basically says you need major layer 2s to hit stage 1, and you need blobs to exist. And so 2024, we actually hit that. The next step is having actual like fully running data availability sampling and major layer 2s hitting stage 2. So I think that'll happen, and I think that'll happen sooner than people expect. And it's up to the layer 2 teams to actually build this. Now, future of Ethereum, there are still a lot of problems that are left to solve. So we want upgrades to decentralization. Who here wants Ethereum to be decentralized? Who here wants Ethereum to be centralized? OK. OK, so one person wants Ethereum to be centralized. OK. Censorship resistance. Who here wants to censor Ethereum? OK, a couple more hands. Quantum resistance. Who here wants Ethereum to break the first time a quantum computer comes out? OK, one hand. That's good. Maybe it's like, sometimes like you need collapse in order for renewal to happen, right? So further upgrades to make sure that decentralization, censorship resistance, and quantum resistance continue happening. Progressive upgrades to efficiency and scale. So layer 2, I think, is going to scale extremely quickly, and its safety is going to improve quickly over the next few years. And also, I expect progressive upgrades, cautious upgrades, but still progressive and definitely ongoing upgrades to layer 1 capacity in different forms as well over the next years. And I think one of the big reasons why we need to do this, one is to support the activity that continues to happen on layer 1 itself, and 2, because ultimately, if something breaks on a layer 2, layer 1 still needs to be there to be as a backstop. And so the maximum theoretical safe capacity of L2s is proportional to the capacity of L1. We're going to have upgrades to data availability sampling to increase the number of blobs that Ethereum can support. As of about a week ago, Ethereum has actually hit price discovery mode, meaning in terms of blobs, meaning that the number of blobs that is actually being used on Ethereum exactly equals the protocol set long-term target. Now, we need to scale this number. Upgrades are happening to actually do this. So upgrades to data availability sampling. We have also scaled enough that a wide variety of applications are possible. ENS, consumer payments, social. One category that I think is going to be extremely important over the next decade is mixed financial and non-financial applications. Applications that make use of the power of finance, but ultimately to serve ends that go beyond financial goals. And I think there's lots of very powerful applications here, and I think it's we've spent a long time making the technology better, and we will continue doing this, but it is at the level where now is the time to build. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Vitalik, for sharing a little bit more about the future of Ethereum. If you haven't read Vitalik's blog post series about possible futures of Ethereum, I would suggest it. It's free online. But if you prefer the book format, we actually have a Devcon special edition, Possible Futures of Ethereum Protocol book. Does anyone want this here? Cool. So you show up to Devcon on day 4. First 2,000 people to walk in the venue on day 4 get this book and can read it on the plane back home. So much of the content covered at Devcon will be around these topics, right? The future of Ethereum. There are new protocol research. There's like a whole new generation of cryptographic primitives. There are new ways to build on Ethereum, new ways to use Ethereum to impact the real world. And for that, I'd like to invite Natan Sexer, the Devcon programming lead, to the stage, and 10 track representatives to talk to you about what you will see in the content at Devcon.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Very excited to introduce you to the tracks of Devcon and some of the people who have been instrumental in curating their content. And yeah, to be frank, I've never been that loud in a room, so I can tell you I'm super excited. Few numbers first. We had more than 3,000 applications to speak at Devcon this year, more than double what we had in Bogota. It's pretty amazing to see. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. And unfortunately, we had room for around only 15% of them. So the content you'll see here is actually like the best of the best. You will see this content crossing 10 different tracks. And there will be content, there will be something for everyone. So to share a bit more about them, I'd like to invite key reviewers from each track who have been instrumental in creating the amazing content that you'll see at Devcon. They will give a rapid pitch about why each track matters, what are some highlights, and who is it for. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Austin for the developer experience track.
Thank you. So many incredible talks here at Devcon, but like Josh said, it's all about developers. So the developer experience track is extra important, and I got to spend a lot of time working with a lot of tool builders in the space to help evaluate all of these talks. Georgios, Rick Moo, a lot of other people that I will forget their names. I'm very thankful for your help setting up this lineup. But it's everything from app tooling, smart contract tooling, frames, debugging, ZK, indexers, optimizers, autonomous worlds, even community building. We'll have a little bit of everything for developers. Beginner starter kits like Scaffold ETH and Remix to help you get that first hello world, all the way to very, very deep technical content. Huge range of old school to new school. Really cool to see, like the creator of Truffle giving a talk, or the Python and the Huffer guys, the Hard Hat guys, the Foundry guys, Open Zeppelin, Ethers, a whole array of wonderful folks will be speaking. Shout out to the Wevum WAGME guys who aren't here. We miss them, and they are a huge impact on the space. So just to hit it real quick, we're going deep and wide on tooling. It'll be a side of autonomous worlds and optimizers and community building. Why? Because we're literally building the future. Who? Builders, dreamers, creators, shepherds, shippers, optimizers, debuggers, and data nerds. Come check out the developer experience track. We'll have a whole capture the flag game on the 13th. Lots of great stuff. I'm going to hand it off to Amy with usability. Thank you.
All right, my name is Amy, and I'm honored to be introducing the usability track. The usability track is all about improving the user experience of Ethereum. We're focused on sharing patterns and design processes around user experience, onboarding, and accessibility. As you'll see with this variety of speaker backgrounds, usability really requires an all-hands-on-deck approach. Designers, developers, DevRels, to product leads, we all have to come together to solve our most pressing adoption challenges. To me, Devcon represents a snapshot of what's most important to our community. As Vitalik said, this year, we really want to focus on usability with themes like account abstraction, cross-chain settlement, intents, passkeys, mobile UX. These all highlight key solutions to realizing Ethereum's greater vision. So in our track alone, we had over 300 applications. So with 6 judges, you guys are all the nerds. You can do the math on how long it took us to review and deliver it. And so with that, we're so excited for you to dig into this track. We hope you leave these talks with fresh perspective and techniques for improving usability in your next build. So now I hand it off to Tim to introduce the next track.
Hey everyone, my name is Tim Bako. I work at the EF, and I help put together the core protocol track for this year's Devcon. So if you want to learn about what's happening to the Ethereum protocol, new network upgrade, the future of proof of stake, how the EVM is going to evolve, how we have tooling set up to monitor the network, changes the issuance, and all of those things, this is the track you should be following. We'll be covering the future of the Ethereum protocol, starting from things that are sort of very concrete and about to ship. And as we move through the week, things will get more and more speculative, and you'll get a big sense of like the overall research roadmap. We do have content for everyone, every level of like knowledge and depth and expertise. So if you're new to Ethereum, don't be intimidated by this. Show up, go see some of the sessions. But if you're deep into this, we hopefully have some technical workshops that you'll find stimulating too. To highlight a few of these, I'll start with Christine's talk today. She'll give an overview of Pectra, which is Ethereum's next network upgrade. So if there's a single talk you want to go to this week to just understand what's changed in Ethereum, this would be it. Then, if you really want to get your hands dirty and get into the weeds, tomorrow the EF's testing team is running a workshop about how they actually do testing, how we keep the chain secure, how we make sure it never goes down. And lastly, I want to highlight 2 of the community sessions we'll have this week. All day on Wednesday, we have an EPF day. EPF is the EF's Ethereum Protocol Fellowship. Oh, well, cheers for EPF. Yeah, we can clap for them. So the Ethereum Protocol Fellowship is effectively the EF's way of bringing in new core devs to help steward Ethereum. So we have all of them here, or at least a large majority, that will be presenting the work that they've done. If you've been wondering about how to get into core development, this is a great place to be. If you're a client team looking to hire core devs, then you go see their presentations. And then last but not least, all day on Friday, we'll have an Ethereum Magician session to discuss all of the most important topic around Ethereum. We'll have a session covering UX, one about the future of block construction, issuance, and the future of the Ethereum protocol, where we'll have experts in all of these topics there to discuss and have the room open for the community to come and ask questions and collaborate. Thank you very much, and I'll see you across all of these. And Songi for Real World Ethereum.
Hi, everybody. My name is Songi. I'm very, very excited to introduce our awesome track. This is a new track that just got added into the Devcon this time because of the maturity of the Ethereum that Josh and Aya and Vitaly was mentioning. So this track is focusing on the real world use cases. So you can, woohoo! finally we can actually see some applications that is actually based and people can use. So it's very, very exciting. And because of that, I think a lot of people were interested in showing their work so far that was hidden under the ground. So we had more than 530 plus applications just for this track. And we had to add more judges to actually do that. So round of applause to all the judges, including all of our track, doing this amazing reviews. But anyway, so out of the 530 application, we select 80 plus conversation. So those conversation you can find people who building a financial application in the, for example, Africa, and also in the DeSci, RWA, NGOs and government building identity or like a donation tracking system, supply chain. There is just so many use cases that people are start using Ethereum to build the solution. So you can meet all of this conversation in our track. And who is for? Actually for everybody. Basically, whoever curious about the real use case of Ethereum and how you can use it. If you want to imagine what I can do with Ethereum, please come this track. And this is a 4 kind of feature track out of 80. It was really hard to choose those 4, but I tried to choose whatever that is most common and then have more people. So we have a 1. Do you hear the music? Yeah, 1 with a next billion fellows, so you can hear people's story, and then also there's other things from the global majority and their philosophy and all sorts of different stories. So please come join our track. Next is a gossip.
Hello, Devcon. I'm Gubsheep, and I'm incredibly excited to introduce the Applied Cryptography track at this year's conference. This track covers how the Ethereum community is pushing forwards and engaging with the frontiers of cryptography, from research-level innovation to production-grade global-scale deployment. The story of advanced cryptography in 2024 is deeply intertwined with the story of Ethereum. And this track is for both researchers, developers, and technologists, but also for anyone who is interested in how different technologies can help us realize the future of digital infrastructure. At Devcon this year, you'll have the chance to interact hands-on with programmable cryptography in many ways. From speaker Q&A with zero-knowledge proofs, to zero-knowledge provable tickets on ZooPass that you can use to interact with various applications built by Ethereum community members, to interactive games at the Cursive and Prague Crypto booths and community hubs downstairs. We'll hear from dozens of speakers for this track, covering topics from cryptography for digital identity, to proof-carrying data, to program obfuscation and beyond. And you can tune into the Devcon Passport app for more and be on the lookout for a certain green and amphibious friend throughout your Devcon experience. And now, Alicia from the coordination track.
Thanks, Grubsheet. Hi, I'm Alicia, and I'm going to talk to you today about the coordination track. So if you're, there we go. If you're wondering what coordination is, actually sitting in this room or being part of Devcon, whether you're sitting in this room or watching now or in the future, is an incredible example of the power of coordination and the impact that it can have on Ethereum. So other topics, or topics that will be covered in the coordination track include DAOs, governance, public goods, incentives, and tooling and mechanisms that can help us build resilient and decentralized ecosystems. So when you think about why coordination is important, we often kind of default to thinking about technical concepts in Ethereum, and obviously that makes sense. But when you think about it, ultimately it comes down to the coordination of people involved in those projects. That's really what determines the success and growth and adoption of any given project in the Ethereum ecosystem. So I think that the importance of coordination is the ability of humans to coordinate across space and time, whether it's different countries, many different time zones that we manage to get on calls, across languages and different cultures and experiences, all coming together for a shared vision. So I think that, I know everyone says this, but I really do think that the coordination track can appeal to everyone, whether you're new to the Ethereum community or a seasoned veteran, whether you're technical or non-technical. And this is just a selection of some of the highlights on the coordination track. Denison, Tim, Owaki, Griff Green, all incredible examples of values-aligned Ethereans. And really looking forward to seeing you enjoy the coordination track. And next up, we have Liggy.
Thank you so much, Alicia. I'm very, very happy that this year we have a cypherpunk track at Devcon, and we can expose so many great people to the ideas and values of cypherpunk, because we are crafting a very, very sharp tool here, and we need to make sure that this tool is used to advance humanity into a bright future and not lock us in a dark dystopia. I want to highlight some sessions. I was told to do 4, but I want to lead by example here to not obey authority, even though I respect Nathan. So I did 6. And it was also really, really hard to choose because we had so many great submissions, and that's even only the submissions that are accepted. And we had to reject so many great talks, which was really, really sad. So a nice foundational talk can be the history and philosophy of cypherpunk that can introduce you to the concept. So if you're new to that, please watch this. And then also, like, we need to go to the next generation. We not only need the old generation, we need the new generation. So MF will give a talk about the new cypherpunk generation. And then it's also important to burst bubbles and not just to be in our Web3 bubble here. So break out a little bit. So we invited Hart Montgomery from the Linux Foundation and Roger Dingeldine from Tor to teach us lessons from from their ecosystems, basically, that we don't have to repeat these mistakes and can make our own in the end. And also very important, I think, is the battle for Ethereum's soul from Eleftherios, so basically between financial nihilism and the FOSS culture. Now we go more to the FOSS culture side there. And last but not least, like Jared Hope, he will talk about corruption, KYC, and the cost of compliance. Thank you very much. And next up is Frederick, who will talk about the security track.
Hi, I'm Frederick. I'm from the protocol security team at the EF, and I'm super happy to be here to present the security track. So every day we hear about users, developers, projects, and exchanges who are getting scammed, drained, or hacked. This is obviously very sad and bad for the people that this happens to, but I also believe that if we are to reach mass adaptation, then this is something that all of us must and can improve on. So to help improve, the security track are covering topics such as best practices through the security framework by the Security Alliance. We have sessions about security tooling, and we have workshops. All of this by some of the best security people in the ecosystem. I hope that you will leave some of these sessions with a desire to help existing initiatives, or perhaps even get new ideas for initiatives. And to help with that, we have a new program called ethrangers.com, where you can apply for a $25,000 funding for spending time doing public good security work in the ecosystem. And those who are interested in applying the offensive security skills that you obtain in these sessions, you can also join the CTF that we have on Thursday, the 14th, where anyone can apply to join and share a prize pool of $50,000. We also have a big protocol bug bounty competition happening straight after Devcon with a prize pool of up to $1.5 million. Next up is Barnaby with crypto economics.
Thank you, Frederick. Hi, everyone. I'm Barnaby from the Robust Incentives Group at the Ethereum Foundation, here to present the crypto economics track. It's often said that Ethereum is winging it. Sometimes we are. But we rely on a large body of work that's from a new science called crypto economics. You can think of it as a new field that blends cryptography, economics, mechanism design, distributed systems, consensus theory, and many more other disciplines. And so what happens is Ethereum doesn't have one research lab. It has 100 different research labs scattered throughout academic institutions and the industry. These labs are busy cooking up the technology that powers our protocol and also the many applications that rely on it. So if you want to hear about what these labs are up to, make sure to check out the talks from our crypto economics track. Every talk in the track will bring you to the frontier, but here are 4 samples to give you an idea of what you can expect. We're going to be talking about blobs. Blobs are a new resource that the Ethereum protocol is providing, which powers our rollups. We'll have introductory sessions to give you a leg up in your journey towards crypto economics. We'll have groundbreaking researchers such as Robin Hanson, well known for his work on prediction markets, among others. And we'll also have talks giving you a vision of what is possible when the crypto economics are right. So we hope to see you there, and I'll now pass the mic to Bartek for the L2 track.
Layer 2s, last but not least. So in the last year, Layer 2s have been one of the hottest topics in crypto. Probably not as hot as meme coins, but certainly the hottest if you focus on serious crypto applications. And right now, we have over 100 L2s on mainnet, with probably twice as many about to be launched. And while curating this track, we did not let marketing departments to get in. I'm sorry, we love you guys from marketing, we really do. But this session is actually prepared by researchers, by builders, by enthusiasts, and also you will hear from critics as well, because we still have a lot of problems to solve, and you will hear about potential solutions. You will get a chance to have a glimpse about the future of how Ethereum is going to scale. So we have prepared 30 talks, 9 lightning talks, 2 amazing panels, and 6 workshops. And just to whet your appetite, I've taken the liberty of just choosing, one from each category. So if you do want to do a deep dive, like jump into the rabbit hole and understand how Ethereum is going to scale while remaining secure and decentralized, please consider attending the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to you, Barek. And with that, we have covered all the tracks. So again, let's give a big thank you to these track reviewers, as well as their nearly, thank you. We also had about 100 community members who helped review and curate this amazing agenda. But there is much more than just program content at Devcon. And to share more about all the other things you can do and see at Devcon, I will pass it back to you, Skylar. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Natan. Thank you all track reviewers, track participants, community reviewers. Yeah, as Natan mentioned, there is a lot more to Devcon than just the programming, than just the content. So I'm going to go through a quick thrival guide. Like, what do you need to know to thrive at Devcon over the next 5 to 10 minutes? I'll keep it quick, but this stuff hopefully is going to be pretty important for you guys to figure out how can you maximize your experience here at Devcon. First thing you'll need is the Devcon Passport app. So this is app.devcon.org. It's a progressive web app, so you can download it to your phone and use it throughout the conference. Here on this app, you have everything you need. You have this schedule, you can personalize your agenda, you can even share your schedule with your friends or your followers if you want. And there is a Diva AI. So if you have a question, you can go and ask Diva AI. It has all of the track information in there, all of the agenda information, and should know a lot about Devcon. When it hallucinates, you can then go ask a volunteer. So keep that in mind. But yeah, this app is going to be your go-to resource for understanding what's going on at Devcon. Also, the app has live streams. So all talks and workshops are being live streamed and are being recorded, and the recordings should be available immediately after each talk is finished, and they should all be available in the app. In addition, there are translations. So all talks, or all main stage talks on this stage are being translated by human translators, like an army of human translators sitting behind this stage right now, in Thai, Mandarin, Vietnamese, and Malay. All other tracks, all other stages are being translated by AI translations into Thai, Mandarin, Hindi, Bengali, Vietnamese, Malay, Indonesian, Burmese, Khmer, Filipino, and Filipino. So yeah, if you need that, use those translations. Also, all talks will have Q&A. You can see here on the bottom, and as a part of Ask Speaker questions. So we want Devcon to be more interactive. We want you to be able to participate with the speaker. And so through this, you can ask questions to the speakers, and they'll be able to answer the questions at the end of the talk. And hopefully this allows all of us to participate a little bit more in the sessions that we're seeing. Much of what Devcon will be is an entry point into, for beginners, maybe discovery of new topics, for experts to expand their boundaries. One form of content that I'd like to highlight is lightning talks. So these lightning talks will last 5 minutes with a 2-minute Q&A. They're a really concise way to communicate a point, and they're usually going to be grouped in similar topics, similar themes. So if you want to get a really a good bang for your buck in terms of time and knowledge absorption, I would suggest checking out the lightning talks. Most of them will be on stage 4, which is the other side of the venue, but they'll be sprinkled in many stages throughout. I also want to mention the gift of giving. So all of you have received or probably selected swag. I think this swag is maybe some of the coolest design swag we've ever had for DevCon, so if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. But what I think the coolest swag is, you probably don't even know about yet. We are giving, the DevCon team is giving you all the gift of giving. So we are allocating $250,000 from the DevCon supporter program to support public good informational Ethereum dashboards. There is a list of 20 dashboards, and you all can help decide which ones deserve more support. We are using quadratic voting, along with a technology called Mainstage for anti-collusion, and we're verifying attendance and verifying all of this using ZooPass. So go vote at vote.devcon.org, prove your ticket with ZooPass, and vote for your favorite dashboard or your many favorite dashboards. Each attendee gets 100 voting power, and you can learn more at that website, or you can find the Mainstage team at one of the Impact booths here in the Impact Forum. Tip number 4, don't just consume, contribute. So at DevCon, we have much more than just like normal content where we speak to you. This year, we have 14 community hubs. These are non-commercial areas for communities to meet, to discuss, to collaborate around domains and themes that are important within the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm not going to list them off, but you can see them around the venue as you walk around, and you can see more at this QR that I might be blocking. And each of them has their own programming. It's run by its own community, and they would love for you to stop by and participate. So check it out, devcon.org/experiences. We also have discussion corners and meeting rooms available for booking by anyone. So if you would like to organize your own discussion, we have 4 discussion corners around the venue. They fit up to 40 people, and they can be booked at reserve.devcon.org and meeting rooms as well. Number 5, we have community-led sessions. Community-led sessions are basically are types of content where we allow the community to curate their content. So we have like their full-day sessions where they're focused around some specific topic. 2 that might be interesting are, 1 is DAC Discovery Day on Thursday, where we discuss how Ethereum fits into the broader context of technological innovation, AI debates, defensive technology, and other things. Then there's also Mud Day on Thursday as well. So some people here might argue that Ethereum's greatest impact is creating unstoppable virtual worlds. If you're one of those, maybe you can check this out. Or if you want to just create really efficient and powerful on-chain applications, Mud is a great framework. And there's a few others that you heard the track representatives talk about earlier, so you can check those out on the app. And lastly, the DevCon improvement proposals. So every year we allow the community to get involved in DevCon and propose integrations or ways in which we can extend DevCon. The first one is with ZooPass. So you are all using ZooPass to manage your tickets. All of your tickets are cryptographic attestations in this form of a pod. And all of these pods are compatible with the 2nd generation cryptography of zero-knowledge proofs and other things. And if you want to learn more about this, you can check out the Frog Crypto Community Hub on the ground floor. Maybe get yourself a frog hat. And there's also a CLS, a community-led session on Friday all around this technology. We also have a music stage on the ground floor where we have the Ethereum open source orchestra playing from different members of the Ethereum community. If you play, you can go maybe join them. And lastly, I will mention that we have a treasure hunt from a team from the community. I won't say much more about this other than this is your first clue. So I'll leave that there for a second. And if you want more, you can go to this website or ask Diva AI. And the best tip of all is that this is a choose-your-own-adventure event, right? You don't need to sign up to talks ahead of time. You should go do what you are most interested in doing, what you are most interested in seeing. So in 30 minutes, there are talks starting in other rooms. But right now, we have someone very special to come talk. With this, I would like to formally close the opening ceremony part and welcome to the stage a renowned expert in technology and innovation, someone who has been instrumental in shaping Taiwan's digital landscape and promoting open governance to the world. Let's see.
Across the world, democracy is on a decline.
Authoritarianism is on the rise.
Global freedom has eroded for the 18th consecutive year.
Audrey Tong, what is your greatest hope for democracy across the globe?
That people see democracy as a social technology, something that people can construct together, that they can improve in the here and now. We can code up political systems.
The Sunflower Movement was a real turning point for Taiwan's democracy.
When the Sunflower Movement happened, I said to my colleague, I have to leave now. Democracy needs me. I brought a very long cable for internet connection. I live streamed through Twitter. Everybody saw it is possible for democracy to evolve, to come up with novel policies simply by asking the people, what should we do together? I was born with a heart defect, and one day I just fainted. I woke up in a hospital, and they told me the hole in my heart has grown. I could die. This awareness that everything can be reset tomorrow reminds me of Taiwanese democracy. We can't lose our democracy just with a couple missiles.
I think there's a lot that the world can learn from Taiwan. The US is running on a 250-year-old operating system. There is a strong desire to move beyond this and properly rethink from first principles. What would democracy in the 21st century actually look like?
We can make the government more open to the public. It'll be easier for people to access the data, to analyze it, transparency.
Audrey has created the opportunity to make Taiwan the most exciting constitutional democracy in the world.
I think it's a very critical moment. China really wants to invade Taiwan.
You're sitting on a place that is the flashpoint if there's going to be World War III. And yet there's calm in the eye of the hurricane. And that calm, I think, emanates from all that Audrey's done.
We can become co-creators of our democratic system, reconfiguring society in a way that is more transparent, more inclusive, more fair.
Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Audrey Tong.
Really excited to be here. I missed the Bogota one. I was in the Osaka one, so happy to be back at Devcon. Yeah, thank you. And today's talk is plurality, infinite diversity in infinite combinations. You can read all about it at plurality.net, which is a public domain book. Now, as you have seen in the trailer, The Good End of Ancestor, back in 2014, just a decade ago, Taiwan was facing a real public trust problem. The trust in the democratic administration was as high as 9%, which was not very high. And the society was very polarized and very angry, energies everywhere. And so the point that we made back then was that we should not succumb to the anger and outrage that swept across much of the world at the time. And instead, we should turn conflict into co-creation. And there's a saying that says, to give no trust is to get no trust. And in the span of just 6 years, we had rebuilt the trust by radically trusting the people. And so by 2020, the public trust has risen to over 70%. And so this is the journey that began a decade ago. The Sunflower Movement, March 2014, was when people were really deeply unhappy about how the administration and the parliament was handling a particular trade negotiation. But what set this movement apart is that we said that we're not protesters. Protesters is against something. We're demonstrators. Demonstrators build alternatives. So we occupied peacefully the parliament for 3 weeks with 500,000 people on the street and many more online. And the occupied streets around the parliament became a live, open citizen assembly. Anybody can come there and learn about how exactly does the trade agreement affect them. And they can engage in a facilitated conversation, both in person and online. And every day we reach a little bit consensus about those specific issues and read them aloud. And after 3 weeks, something very rare happened in the history of Occupies. The Speaker of the Parliament accepted all our demands. And so that was extraordinary. And by the end of 2014, the central government invited us, the civic activists, to join the cabinet as reverse mentors, advising the cabinet in the art of how to rebuild public trust. And so the key idea here is bridging systems. The first thing we did in 2015 was building such bridging systems, online platforms that mirror the facilitated dialogues that we had during the occupation. For example, this is a real screenshot back in 2015 about Uber, which involved non-professional drivers and which really offended the taxi drivers, caused a lot of conflict both in the street and online. But instead of letting the discussion devolve into outrage on social media, we built our own pro-social media where citizens can express their views constructively, and this is the Polis platform. It's an open source platform where people can propose ideas, like insurance is very important for ride sharing and so on. And as you can see, there's this agree button and disagree button, but there's no reply button. With no reply button, there's no room for trolls to grow. And you can see as you click agree or disagree that your avatar, that blue circle, moves toward to a cluster, a k-means cluster, where people share with your views, and you can see what bonds you together and what are dividing the groups. And the idea here is that we focus on the bridging idea. The more an idea bridge across groups, the more bonus it gets. And so only the idea that speak to all the different groups can get agenda setting power to be part of the policy agenda. And so during the Uber deliberation, people first agree on the basic facts, like what's actually happening. And then we ask, how do you feel about those facts? And some were angry, some were happy, but everybody is an expert in their own feelings. And this allowed us to cluster based on the shared sentiments. And so by the third week, we had a set of very bridging ideas, like surge pricing is acceptable while the demand is high, but undercutting meters is not. And so the final regulations setting these as agenda ensure fairness for both Uber and the local cooperatives in rural areas and so on. And so the lesson we learned back in 2015 was that polarization is not a function of the people involved, it is a function of the space. And so we can design pro-social systems that reduce polarization as a function of the space, making the group-informed consensus into a common knowledge, like a group selfie that everybody sees and say, oh, actually we do agree with most of our neighbors most of the time on most of the points, and it's just one or two things that divides us. And that group selfie is very powerful. Now, the idea has since then influenced the mainstream platforms, such as Twitter, now x.com, and also YouTube. So maybe some of you have tried the jury duty, that is the community notes. It follows the same principle. So if only one side, on the left, on the right, agree with a note, it does not get featured. It only gets featured if it bridges perspective from both sides, encouraging more and more balanced contributions. And so by promoting those notes that bridge differences, the system incentivizes this idea of constructive engagement. And so more generally, while the social media connects us globally, it often treats the individuals as isolated units and prioritizing that engagement, that dopamine hit over genuine connection. And so instead of these efforts to exploit our social fabric rather than regenerating it, we can do better. And the Polis community nodes are just prototypes to what we call pro-social systems. And the main idea of pro-social systems, or plural systems, as Vitalik wrote in his blog, is to treat the connections between individuals as first-class objects. And that means designing platforms that recognize and enhance the relationships by naming the relationships and featuring them as part of the group selfie. And so transparency is really key, because many platforms already understand the networks that we belong to and the interests that we share. but the information is concealed from individual users and exploited for personalized, targeted advertising. And so by openly labeling those content with community that it connects us to, whether cultural, professional, or social, we can empower the people to engage much more meaningfully. And so this idea has many applications, and in the book we discuss a lot of them, but basically all of them falls into this trade-off, this production possibility frontier. As you can see on one side, deep collaboration happens in small, in homogeneous groups, while large-scale interactions tend to be more superficial, like just capitalism. But what if we can push the frontier forward? And so that is the main research agenda for plural systems. What if we can design systems that allows for the same deep, meaningful collaboration, but across larger groups? Or we keep the same scale of people engaged, but much more meaningful, much more higher bandwidth democracy. And so by designing spaces that accommodates this kind of infinite combinations in infinite diversity, we can then move toward a much more interconnected society and tackling more and more emerging challenges. So I'll just use one example, which is the middle, the augmented deliberation. More recently, we tackled in Taiwan this March a society-wide issue, which is an emerging issue called deepfakes and other synthetic content on social media. And so this March, we sent out 200,000 random text messages, SMS, to citizens across Taiwan from 111, which is a well-known number that says this comes from the government, so you know it's not scam. And it asks a very simple question: how do you feel about information integrity online? And from those who responded, who said, okay, I'm willing to engage in online augmented deliberation, we randomly selected 450 people through random stratified sampling or sortition, a microcosm of our society in terms of age, occupation, region, so on and so forth. And so this microcosm were divided into 45 online rooms with 10 people each. And instead of professional facilitators, the room now auto-facilitates. The AI-powered tools guides the discussions without a human facilitator, and the platform transcribes the real-time transcripts, conversations, key points, points of disagreement, points of agreement, and even encourage the quieter participant to share their thoughts more. And so the AI-assisted deliberation enables us to scale meaningful conversations in real time and synthesize different ideas from those 45 different rooms into a coherent bridging idea that we then read out to the 450 people during the plenary. For example, one consensus that was woven this way was that social media platforms need to be liable if they fail to verify the mandatory digital signatures of online advertisements. In other words, if an advertisement shows Audrey Tang selling you some scam or something, and the platform did not secure a digital signature from me, and somebody get conned for $1 million, then that platform should be liable for $1 million. And so we took those collective insights and within just 3 months, just passed the legislation with the support of all the different parties. And so the new law requires social media to ensure the authenticity in online advertisements. So it's not content level moderation or censorship, but rather at actor level provenance. And so this process demonstrated how technology can enhance democratic participation, turning this complex challenge and basically deliberate in the same speed as the technology evolves. And so our journey in Taiwan taught that if we, instead of broadcasting, just broad listening from the society, we can just integrate those very different conflicts, polarized sides, and turn them into co-creation. It's not just limited to Taiwan. For example, in Japan this year, a young political newcomer, an AI researcher named is Takahiro Ano-san, embraced these principles after reading the Plurality book and ran for the Tokyo governor. And so inspired by the Plurality book, Ano-san basically used AI to deep fake himself. He live streamed as a VTuber for 17 days, answering almost 10,000 questions from voters. You can call into a hotline to have a conversation with his voice clone. But the point is that it's all open source. And his manifesto, his platform is on GitHub. And so this kind of collaborative co-creation, again, showed the people in Tokyo, like in real time, what their preferred platforms are. And so Arnold's experience basically illustrates how the principle of broad listening can result in a very high-quality platform, independently rated as the best platform, even though he did not win. Koike-san won. But the idea is that we can enrich our collective experiences and weave a stronger, more interconnected social fabric. And so that leads to the idea of pro-social media. What you're seeing here is a prototype called Cortico.ai from MIT that exemplify the idea of pro-social media. And the software is to enable small gatherings like religious, community, educational settings to hold meaningful listening sessions. And the software, again, transcribes and anonymizes the conversations, highlighting the points where people resonate and share those resonating ideas across the bridging groups. And so this creates a network of understanding where insights from one group inform discussions in another group. And ultimately, a collective sense-making report is done, again, with the help of language models, and then reflecting the collective voice of the people so that people can then understand deeply what they all care about. And the idea of pro-social media then regenerate the social fabric rather than maximize individual engagement. And this can also offer a new revenue source because for communities and also for personal subscriptions, we all want to connect more meaningfully with our communities. And so this leads to the real-world application part. So in our pursuit to do more pro-social digital environments, this year there's also a very interesting critical opportunity. So one of the world's most influential social networks is called TikTok. And we think rather than resorting to bonds, we're putting together what's called a people's bid to acquire the US assets of TikTok and turn it into exactly that sort of pro-social constructive communities-driven space. As you can see, TikTok's recommendation algorithm has been a double-edged sword. Last year, there's research that shows an average undergrad in the US, if you want them to stop using TikTok, you have to pay them $60 or so a month for the utility that's lost. But if there is a way for them to make everybody around them, including themselves, quit TikTok, they're willing to pay like $30 US per month. And so this is a kind of collective trap situation where people find it very difficult to leave due to the network effects and peer pressure. And so the people's bid basically seeks to acquire TikTok US and shift it into the open, decentralized infrastructure, not unlike Farcaster or Lens, and allowing users to port their social graphs and choose their own experiences. So there's no immediate loss. If you migrate away from one particular front end, you can keep all the values in the network. And so by replacing the existing recommendation engines with bridge-making algorithms, we hope to promote content that fosters understanding and collaboration across those diverse different viewpoints. And research from Stanford already showed that such bridge-making algorithms can maintain the same user engagement while enhancing the quality of interactions and overall mental well-being. So if you know someone from the Web3 space who would like to architect TikTok's eventual migration to the decentralized social networking protocol like a CTO for the people's bid, please do get in touch. So now, before moving to the Q&A with 10 minutes left, I'd like to share something personal. Back in 2016, when I was first named digital minister in Taiwan, Taiwan did not have a digital minister before. And so the HR asked me, would you like to write a job description to describe what a digital minister do? And in Taiwan, it just so happens, 数位 means both digital and plural. So in addition to being a digital minister, I'm also a minister of plurality. And so what follows is really a prayer. It is my job description as digital minister and now cyber ambassador of Taiwan. It goes like this. When we see the Internet of Things, let's make it an Internet of beings. When we see virtual reality, let's make it a shared reality. When we see machine learning, let's make it collaborative learning. When we see user experience, let's make it about human experience. And whenever we hear that a singularity is near, let us always remember the plurality is here. Thank you so much. Any questions? thoughts, ideas, comments? Well, feel free to get in touch. I'm at Audrey T on most platforms. Thank you. Oh, there's a question there. Sorry. Yes. Please.
Thank you. Really great talk. Yes, I was just really interested with the experiments that you've run, like if you ever have trouble with people engaging and if you've explored different kind of incentive mechanisms to get people involved in all this great work and research.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so the key to get people engaged is fast, fair, and fun. Fast meaning that you need to offer a kind of instant gratification. So for example, in Taiwan, even for people under 18, anyone who secured the signature online for 5,000 people can kind of force a ministerial response within just 60 days at most. And so it encouraged people, like according to the ICC as the International Citizenship and Civic Education Standard, the Taiwanese 15 years old are top of the world when it comes to the feeling that they have the agency, that they can change the society. And we publicize the results, which could be fun. You know, one of the results early on was banning plastic straws from the bubble tea takeouts, the boba takeouts. That was very successful, started by a 16-year-old. By the time she was 17, she became a cabinet-level reverse mentor. There's also another very popular petition that says we would like to go to school 1 hour later because study shows that 1 more hour of sleep actually, as opposed to 1 more hour of study, actually increased the grades. And the Ministry of Education was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And so that was passed and included into law. And so by publicizing, yeah, it really is science. 1 more hour of sleep does help study. So by making sure that we publicize those early wins, those quick wins, we make sure that people who have like otherwise longer term planning thresholds and so on can get the support. Like a 16-year-old and 17-year-old, they can get the support from 60 years old and 70 years old because both have more time on their hands and care more about the long-term sustainability anyway. And so each even partial or failed petition then builds the community that pushes the next petition forward. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? There's quite a few there.
Thank you.
Thank you for the talk.
Huge fan of your work. Thank you for that. Oh.
Yeah, sorry for the mutex semaphore.
Okay. We can ask
coordination.
Questions.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. So again, I'm a huge fan of your work. Thank you for that. But while we try to use what you suggest in Web3, my question is, what would be your call to action, like a wider call to action for all of us, also outside Web3? Because it seems like it needs like a huge leap from where we are to those new systems that can, stop the world from falling apart. Thank you.
Great. The most interesting experiments early on that I saw in quadratic voting, quadratic funding, this kind of high bandwidth plural systems, they all started in Web3 space and mostly from the Ethereum ecosystem. Basically what we use in Taiwan, either for the presidential hackathon or quadratic funding, we basically look at the Ethereum ecosystem, see what worked, and then took what worked and in the real world application. So although I guess it's not strictly speaking real world application of Ethereum, it's real-world application with Ethereum. Nowadays, I think with the newfound superpowers of Ethereum to settle the transactions and so on so quickly, I am thinking that most people who want to build such pro-social system, who want the social graph to persist in a way that transcends individual experiences and so on, they now see like what we just saw from the Sony and the Sony L2 idea. We can take existing traditional institutions, centralized institutions like TikTok, and then offer some sort of a ramp so that it become decentralized and then bridging into the existing very exciting decentralized social systems. So I think that sort of conversion, the Web3 to like Web 2 ramp and offering a kind of an easy ramp for the Web 2 people to come aboard. I think that is one very exciting opportunity that I can see. But keep doing the experiments of the bridging bonuses and so on in the Web 3 world, because after all, for a policymaker, like pointing to anywhere in the world where something worked is a sure way to get it into the standard and consciousness of people. So keep up the good work.
Question. Do you see the innovations that you've been working on in Taiwan on democratic systems, are they merely a better way of manufacturing consent? Or is it possible that at some point we evolve beyond the need for hierarchical structures? So a direct democracy could actually lead to better decisions within the right coordinating structures?
That's a great question. Indeed, I think currently the examples I gave is more like in design thinking terms. It's like in the first diamond. It is about discovering the common values and defining how those values should be applied to solve an emerging issue. But in existing representative democracy, the second diamond, which is the development of the budgets and policies and the delivery of such things in the execution layer in the administration, these stay the same. So basically, this is like an add-on to the existing representative democracy. But we do also see, for example, during the pandemic or the infodemic, the disinformation crisis during the pandemic, we do see that there are certain functions that people in Taiwan do not want the government to run. For example, fact-checking. They would think that if you centralize the authority of fact-checking into something that's run by the government, then the government has an incentive of basically saying things that are from the opposition party as false or something. So in Taiwan, we do not actually concentrate that power into the administration, but rather rely on the collaborative fact-checking in the civil society, on the open source ecosystem, so that, for example, Facebook or Instagram, the Meta ecosystem, they partner with the Taiwan Fact-Checking Center or the MyGoPen or the collaborative fact-checking system, and these are in the social sector. These are in the civil society, and we make sure in the government that we just offer like very quick responses to the fact-checkers instead of assuming the function ourselves. So I think the more practical way to think about it is to feel in a society whether there are some functions that people just do not want the government to centralize. And from those fields, we can then use the same coordination measures and then extend to the development and the delivery layers. And once people have good peak experience, like the society-wide deliberation, and then we can piggyback on those experience and then expand more for direct democracy or participatory democracy. But it needs to be done piecemeal instead of just assuming all the governmental functions before the grassroots, the civic muscles are ready. Thank you. Great question. Yes.
Hey. So my question kind of connects to direct democracy, like the last question. And if I had to make an analogy on the on your kind of spiel and idea, is that we're trying to migrate realities. So we're trying to migrate from a physical reality to something that is more virtual, governed by bits and bytes, maybe later other things. But physical reality has a fabric which is very basic. There's one person, one vote, and that kind of governs morality in some way, right? So how are you trying to migrate that? Because physical reality has bad actors, and bad actors can exploit the lack of fabric that you have, that you don't have in virtual realities. Namely, it's called Sybil stability or anything like that. So what I'm curious to understand what you're thinking about that.
So just to clarify the question is that in physical reality, like each person is physically in one space, it is impossible for me to fork into like 10,000 clones or robotic clones. And
it has been like that for thousands of years. So that's my question, basically. Yeah. How do you migrate that principle, which is physical, to something that is virtual?
Yeah, so for example, in the polis system or the systems that we run, we of course need to ensure that each person only have one presence in that system. We usually use SMS, which works domestically because it's, if you try to get like 5,000 SMS numbers, the anti-money laundering people discover you very quickly. But beyond the borders, it is then the need for some sort of interoperable, like personhood credentials, the ways to kind of disclose that you are not a bot without overly disclosing anything about yourself, that becomes very important. And so I think a couple of days ago, Finland is now running a hackathon that tries to solve this sort of problem because they want to use Polis as their society-wide public digital infrastructure. And so they don't want, like Finns overseas, to have a lot of trouble authenticating, but they also don't want people being able to impersonate 10,000 people. And so they used exactly the same toolkits that you're all developing here, the zero-knowledge proofs, the selective disclosure, verifiable credentials, and things like that. And so it's not to make the virtual world a surveilled world or a world where it's like real name transactions, but rather just to preserve one single feature from the physical world, which is one person can only be physically in one room at a time. So that is the feature that we're trying to imitate in the virtual world without making it into a surveillance capitalism space. So I'm not exactly sure that to completely address your question, but that is like the #1 issue we face when we deploy that in the real world. Any other questions? Yes, one more question. Okay.
Hello,
hey.
and thank you for your talk. It's inspirational, quite. If I can put this question together, I'd ask, what's the biggest threat from state actors against radical change and civic movement? Like, what do you think we can do about governments trying to subvert their own societies in the way that you've spoken?
Yeah, I think the #1 threat that I see is this sense of the society being so polarized that any sort of organization or mobilization or trust is impossible. So it is in an authoritarian government's best interest to make sure that each individual feel like an individual and not at all horizontally connected, not at all participating in anything that's meaningful and change-making. And so to counter that, a lot of the work that we've been doing is to ensure that even at a very small community grassroots level, there are ways to quickly see that we make those common actions together. Indeed, back in 2014, in the Occupy Parliament in Taiwan, all the different corners in Taiwan were occupied by different NGOs, the civil society organizations that has been around even when Taiwan was under the martial law, was a dictatorship. And they did not have the canvas to tackle like overtly political topics back then. Maybe they tackled like consumer right protection or environmental protection or collective buying like cooperatives and so on. But after a few decades, the relationship muscles and civic muscles grew to a point where people do feel that they're in it together. And then they effected a peaceful transition to democracy in Taiwan and also ensure that it's not violent because at any given time, people belong to intersection groups of civil society actors that they can feel that even though maybe the president wasn't yet directly elected, that didn't happen until 96, but throughout the 70s and 80s, more and more room gets opened by the civil society actors. So to counter the pessimistic polarization or manufactured polarization, the easiest way is just to get organized and just trust each other, even on a small scale. Thank you. All right, thank you so much for the great questions. Live long and prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you, Audrey. Amazing talk. Okay. With this, we actually are concluding the programming for this main stage. At this point, the stage will be closing down. It will actually be dividing into 3 stages, which will reopen in the afternoon for more programming. Starting in 24 minutes are more talks in other stages around here on the same level. So you have talks around, introduction to multilateral trade credit, set off an MPC, on-chain capital allocation workshop, what's going on into the Pectra upgrade by Christine, and bridging TradFi and DeFi through Ethereum and EVM, a pathway to innovation. So check out those talks and those other stages. We'll need everyone to clear out of this stage so we can reset. And thank you all for joining us here this morning.